Alright guys, I know that I am for the most part a movie channel, that we talk about mostly just film, movies, things like that on the channel here, things that are happening in Hollywood, but I am going to be starting to talk about some TV shows as well, specific TV shows, including the Lord of the Rings Amazon TV show. This is a TV show that I am planning on covering heavily and with a very sharp eagle eye as they continue to further development with this TV show. So, if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, then you've come to the right place, because I'm going to be covering everything involving Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, anything like that on this channel. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Middle-earth. I love Tolkien's world, his vision, everything. One of my favorite things of all time. Seriously, I can't tell you guys how much I love Lord of the Rings so much. Anyway, with that being said, because of that, I really want to cover this. So, we have here some new details about the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. So, let's go ahead and get into it, and then we can talk about it after that. So, breaking. Game of Thrones TV show lore master and writer Brian Cogman now leading Amazon's Lord of the Rings. So when you see this kind of raises a little bit of a red flag for me, because we saw what happened with season 8 of Game of Thrones, which was a complete dumpster fire. But despite all of that, we also have to take in consideration that Benioff and Weiss were heavily involved in that, as well as the writers. So we can't place the blame of this necessarily on Brian Cogman. With all that being said, let's go ahead and see what they have to say here. So he is known as the third head alongside Benioff and Weiss, whose job was to maintain book fidelity across the Game of Thrones TV series. So let's think about where the books ended at, during Game of Thrones and stuff, and where this show ended and stuff. So I believe it was season 5 or 4 or 5. I think it was 5, where the books ended with Game of Thrones tied into the movies. So let's look at the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones. They were fantastic. They were really well done, and I don't really have too much of a problem with what they did with those first 5 seasons. I thought they were really well done. So I think that is a positive thing that we can take away from this. Brian Cogman was one of the first hires Thrones creators made when HBO greenlit the show. He had an encyclopedic knowledge of the books and was involved in translating the books into TV storylines, which is awesome. Writers and directors had to pass his inspection of their episodes, which is cool. Cogman's first full episode writer's credit was the powerful Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, where Sansa Stark is brutally raped by Ramsay Bolton. This episode has driven years of cultural dialogue. Many fans checked out after this. The storyline does not appear in the book. Okay, well that's interesting. I did not know that. All this comes in the wake of the recent departure of Amazon's executive in charge of fantasy and genre, Sharon Tal Yagaudo. She ran the Lord of the Rings project up to now and was responsible for hiring the showrunners and writers. Okay, well that's interesting. I don't know too much about her, to be completely honest, but from... Let's see let's look up Sharon real quick. Let's see who Sharon is. I'm curious what she's worked on before this. So let's look her up real quick. Sharon Tal. Okay. So she was a producer on The Listener. Okay. She was a producer on This Is How It Starts, To the Sea, Mercy, Alone, When It Comes to Fireflies, The Listener. Okay, those are just episodes of Outcast. Okay, so she was a producer on Outcast, The Listener, and Single Dads. Honestly, I don't know anything about these shows or anything, so I can't really speak on that behalf, but yeah. I think it's good that they're having someone who worked on a fantasy epic like Game of Thrones coming to help with Lord of the Rings. Fans have lamented any involvement of Thrones creators with Lord of the Rings, but it is now confirmed by multiple sources and reference and Vanity Fair and by George R.R. Martin himself. Cogman has the trust of the most successful fantasy author since Tolkien, which is good, I think, because George R.R. Martin obviously wouldn't be saying this if he thought that Brian, what's his face? Brian did a bad job with Game of Thrones, and he wouldn't be saying that if he thinks that he would do a bad job with Lord of the Rings. I don't think, because George R.R. Martin is a big fan of Lord of the Rings. So let's see what this says here. Let me say this much. Last night was an ending, but it was also a beginning. Nobody's retiring anytime soon. David and Dan are going to Star Wars and other projects beyond that. Amazon scooped up Brian Cogman and put him to work on developing shows of his own, as well as helping out on their big Tolkien project. Okay. Get to know your new Lord of the Rings leader in this profile, and let's discuss the implications and the expectations on today's show. Okay. Okay. Alright. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this article then and see what we have to see here. Okay. Handpicked by George R.R. Martin to pitch a Game of Thrones prequel to HBO, Cogman is instead now working for Amazon, where he just might be the guy who creates the world's next obsession-worthy series. The question that I have is what... okay. Pop-ups? I swear. Okay. The question I have is, does Brian Cogman have any sort of experience with Lord of the Rings, the world? Like, is he a Tolkien fan? Does he have encyclopedic knowledge about Middle-earth like he does with Game of Thrones? That's my big question. Because if he doesn't, that raises a little bit of a red flag for me. You know, I feel like you need to have someone who is very knowledgeable and understanding of Middle-earth, especially when you're dealing with things like the Second Age, which this series is going to be dealing with. You need to have somebody who understands the Middle-earth working on the show. Anyway, so let's see. I'm just kind of skimming here. I've never once seen Brian with George R. Martin, and the rumor is that they could be the same person. Okay. Anyway, you know, this could be a good thing. This could be a bad thing. This video is already getting kind of long, so I don't know if I'm going to necessarily go through this. I might do a live stream on this, actually, guys. Maybe tomorrow. But yeah, you know, this will be an interesting article to really dig into, and I think we might do that, actually. I think we're gonna go ahead and dig into this article maybe tomorrow on a live stream. But with that being said, you know, Brian Cogman, it's possible that he might be the right person for this Lord of the Rings show. I can't really say for sure right now, but looking at his credentials on Game of Thrones, especially since he was the one who was heavily involved with the first 5 seasons or so in Game of Thrones, I think that is a good sign because he did a fantastic job with that type of stuff. But my big question is still, does Brian Cogman love and know Lord of the Rings like he does Game of Thrones? That's my big question right now. But, you know, even if he doesn't necessarily, I just hope that he is ready and willing to put in the effort into making Lord of the Rings show as good as he did with Game of Thrones, you know. That's kind of my big thing, you know. But, you know, he probably does kind of have a name that he needs to live up to as well, so maybe that'll kind of keep him inspired and moving forward. But with that being said, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this news, and I will talk to you all very soon in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.